Welcome to the open platform of Public TV of Armenia. Today I am honored to host Mr. Luc Devigne. Mr. Devigne, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for welcoming me.
First of all, let me ask you to give us some details about your visit and what is the schedule.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm very happy to be back in Armenia after too many years of interruption due to COVID. I am here to co-chair tomorrow the annual committee of our agreement, which was entering into force last year, which we signed 2 years ago, which is called CEPA, which stands for Comprehensive Enhanced Partnership Cooperation Agreement. And as the word says, it's comprehensive in the sense that it covers many areas ranging from economic cooperation, but also education, science, climate, environment, etc., etc. So it is important. We see this agreement as the foundation of our relations, and the EU is willing to take part in the development of Armenia and to offer. We are the largest donor in this country, and we want to continue investing. We are the largest investor in this country as well for the future of Armenia.
So you just mentioned about the implementation of CEPA. How is the EU's assessment of the process of implementation?
We think it's very good. We think Armenia is doing a very good job in implementing this agreement. Of course, you can always aim at perfection and at better. There are some areas in the field of the judiciary, for instance, where we think that there could be improvement. We attach also great importance to civil society. Today we just launched a civil society platform for monitoring this agreement, because we associate also civil society. Actually, the Prime Minister comes from civil society. But in general, the relation is very good indeed, and we're very happy with Armenian implementation of this agreement.
Last year, European Union announced about 2.5 billion euro allocation to Armenia in the framework of the European Partnership Economic and Investment Package. Please give us some details about the package and what stage are the provisioned programs now, and when they could be more tangible.
Well, I think they are actually in the progress as we speak of being implemented. We have identified 6 flagship areas. One is economy and the development of 30,000 SMEs. What we're doing is a blending. It's a blending of grants, of loans from EU institutions, EU member states, and also the business. So it's quite comprehensive. We have then a second flagship, which is to boost the connectivity and the connection, also the North-South corridor. We have a third one into digital transformation, also building connection, digital connection through the Black Sea to reach this region. A fourth one, which is development of specifically southern regions of Armenia. A fifth one in specifically the education, also in the southern region of Armenia. And then the sixth one, which is more focusing on green development, and which will have very practical consequences, like 100 buses for Yerevan, etc., on green energy. So it's very concrete.
Yeah. Are there any programs or projects started implementing in Armenia already, or we are just waiting for the approval of some projects?
No, we are already starting this year, actually, the projects, yes.
And another topic which is very much discussed in Armenia, when can we expect the negotiations for the visa-free regime within EU and Armenia? Well,
I should say that first of all, Armenia already enjoys visa facilitation regime, which means that the fees have been reduced, that the duration to obtain the visa is also reduced to less than 10 days. We also have special regimes, for instance, for students benefiting from the European program Erasmus+, where we fund students to study in Europe. And when it comes to visa-free, it's very much in the hands of our member states. It requires unanimity, and it's very much based on the performance of Armenia dealing with irregular stays in some European countries.
So it will take time, based on the...
Depending also on the cooperation, depending yeah, depending on how some problems are solved in certain countries, yes.
Recently, we see the active efforts by the European Union and especially President of the European Council, Mr. Charles Michel, for the normalization of Armenia-Azerbaijani relations. And you know these relations and the process is very complicated and comprehensive. How does the EU see this process to be implemented and which tools EU is considering to apply and support with?
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't want to interfere in this delicate process, which is, as you were rightly saying, led by Charles Michel. We also have our EU Special Representative who was here 1 week and a few weeks before. We've had also the High Representative getting involved also, including during the war. This is, I would say, peace is at the heart of the European project. EU was made to avoid war in a continent which had suffered a lot for war. So this is very much what we want to do. How we can help, of course, depends on the goodwill of all sides. But clearly, the engagement at the highest level, of the level of Charles Michel, with already some successes and very practical steps, is important. How can EU help? EU has experience in opening borders, in making life for citizens easier, in developing good regional cooperation, good neighborly relations. So we believe that it's been too long that unfortunately Armenia and other countries in the region have been affected by this war, by the war, by the conflict, and it's high time to have a long-lasting, peaceful solution and resolvement of peace. And that includes also, of course, wider than just Armenia, also the Turkish border, which should be reopened. We've always advocated that. So we want to see a comprehensive, I would say, regional development here.
Coming to the goodwill, as you mentioned about this relation normalization, still Azerbaijan keeps holding some prisoners of war, tens of prisoners of war of Armenian ethnicity and nationality, and Baku tries to use this factor as psychological and political pressure to Armenia. How do these violations of international humanitarian law hinder the peace establishment process?
We have always been very clear. We have always been very clearly advocating the release of all prisoners as a gesture of goodwill, as a conditio sine qua non to build this long-lasting peace I was alluding to. Clearly toning down also inflammatory rhetorics. I mean, this is all part of the same, different aspects, if you want, of the same coin, and we've been very clear on this.
As the continuation of the Armenia-Azerbaijani relations, the ongoing geopolitical environment and developments, unfortunately, have had a negative impact on the co-chairmanship of OSCE Minsk group, which is, as you know, the only international mandate-based format for the settlement of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Today, we can hardly talk about the joint activities and joint work of the co-chairs. However, the format officially and formally still exists, and some efforts are made. What is the position of the European Union on the agenda and possible activation of the chairmanship of OSCE Minsk Group?
Well, we've always supported this process on one hand. On the other hand, of course, it takes two to tango. We cannot force parties to sit. What matters is that progresses are made. And here I just want to salute what Charles Michel has been achieving. And I think this is what matters, the concrete results. With, of course, the goodwill of all parties is the important one.
And coming to the Armenia-Turkey relations, as you know, the European Union repeatedly welcomed the process of this normalization and any initiative for the normalization, and also the special representatives of both Armenia and Turkey have had two meetings actually. Officially, Yerevan also proposed to open the borders for those persons who are holding the diplomatic passports, but there is no tangible progress from Ankara. There is no official response. Moreover, Turkey continues to relate this bilateral process to the position of Azerbaijan. What do you think, how can this process be promoted so that Ankara doesn't keep closed one of the last closed borders in Europe?
Well, we're not part of this bilateral process. We can only encourage borders to be opened. We also have, as you know, a connectivity strategy to develop the relations between Europe and Central Asia and beyond China. Obviously, opening borders would help in this regard. We can only encourage progress to be made, but it's not for us to substitute to the parties who are negotiating this.
But you're welcome as a European Union.
We certainly welcome opening borders. We have an agreement with Turkey, we have an agreement with Armenia. It is quite obvious that we're in favor of open borders, yes.
Again, in the complicated situation in Caucasus, the official data says that after the war in 2020, at least 1,456 famous monuments fell under the control of Azerbaijan, including 161 monasteries, churches, 591 khachkars or cross-stones. The European Parliament adopted a resolution on cultural and religious heritage in Artsakh, but Azerbaijan continues to ignore these resolutions and also international obligations. How does the European Union assess the decision by the Ministry of Culture of Azerbaijan to establish a special steering committee for, as they say, the changing of history? But in fact, this is falsification of Armenian history.
I'm not commenting specifically on this. I can say in general, we are for the protection of all cultural heritage, be it religious or be it non-religious cultural heritage, quite clearly. And any action that goes against that is not conducive to peace. But I'm not commenting specifically what you're alluding to.
Okay. And in the background of the Ukrainian crisis, many citizens of Armenia see the widespread support provided by the European Union or separate countries from Europe. Many people now have this question in their minds. Why the same powers did not take any practical steps, for instance, sanctions or practical support, but limited themselves with the statements for Armenians in Artsakh or Armenia during the aggression by Azerbaijan in 2020?
Well, we shouldn't see sanctions as a goal per se. We have, as you said, called for peace, called for stopping violence, particularly vis-à-vis civilians, called for release of prisoners, called for respect of monuments. This is what we do. Now, you cannot compare all situation, and again, we have also done some concrete steps. We have provided for humanitarian support to Armenia during the war. But this is not a war about us, this is not a war started by us neither.
Mr. Devigne, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This is Open Platform of Public TV of Armenia, and today I was honored to host Mr. Luc Devigne. Thank you for watching us.